certainly with all the problems we've seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe over the last few years, there hasn't been a whole lot in the future to get excited about. Of course, some of that may have changed for some fans after the big announcement that Marvel made at San Diego Comic-Con regarding Robert Downey Jr. returning to the MCU. But all that was happening as Deadpool and Wolverine was having a massive weekend at the box office. I certainly think people knew there was going to be interest in this, and it almost felt in a way that it's not as connected to the MCU as it really was, because we knew from the beginning this is going to be focused on two characters who weren't from the MCU. They were from the Fox Marvel universe. And we heard different rumors and different things about a lot of the different appearances and potential cameos that would happen in this movie. And all of them seem to be focused on Fox Marvel characters. Well, that's exactly what they ended up putting out. And the response has been insane. Take a look at these numbers. Box office, Deadpool and Wolverine lands 8th biggest opening of all time with $205 million, makes R-rated history. And yeah, so that's the thing. This is an R-rated movie. Before this, I think the previous biggest opening we'd ever had for an R-rated movie was Deadpool at around $130 million domestically. This blew by that at over $200 million. And worldwide, it came in just under $440 million. Now, obviously, Joker, the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, the only R-rated movie to ever hit $1 billion at the box office. With an opening like this, certainly Deadpool and Wolverine in a couple weeks is going to have something to say about that. And if it keeps up this breakneck speed, who knows what it could actually end up making. But as we speak right now, with $205 million domestically, could go up after the final numbers come out. It's already made as much as the Marvels made worldwide in its entire theatrical run. The entire fucking thing in one weekend. And just look at some of these other comparisons. Madam Web, $100 million. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, $434 million. This has made more money in one weekend than that has almost at Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania worldwide levels in just a couple days. And when you compare this to other openings in the Deadpool franchise, you can see both Deadpool and Deadpool 2 very similar. $132 million, $125 million. Now a $205 million domestic. That is a massive fucking number. Now, do I think that it's going to have the same hold and the same legs as something like No Way Home? Probably not necessarily, because I don't think this is that same type of movie. I'm not going to spoil it, keep it completely spoiler-free. I went in expecting to have something on par with the first two Deadpool movies, specifically more like the second one. Pretty much exactly what I got. I wasn't expecting quite as much, I don't know if you want to call it nostalgia, but as many connections. This really was about like the superhero movies that we grew up watching decades ago, right? Late 90s, early 2000s, so many different references, so many characters coming back. That's what this was. This was kind of like a swan song or goodbye to the 20th Century Fox era. Now, some of those movies are great and fantastic. Some of them, leave a little bit to be desired. But overall, I expected what I got. Pretty light on story, heavy on violence, heavy on jokes, heavy on roasting everything from Fox to Marvel to Disney to themselves. A lot of banter between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Not the greatest movie of all time. Not super tight story. Not super rewarding. But it's pretty much on par, like I said, with the first two Deadpool movies. And that's what I expected it to be. And now, just because it has this opening doesn't mean it's locked in at $1 billion. We have seen movies that open around with the same numbers, like Multiverse of Madness, that had a massive, historically bad drop-off and failed to even break $1 billion. Like the fact that Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness had a $450 million global debut, very similar to the numbers we're seeing from Deadpool Wolverine, which is an R-rated movie, which is just mind-boggling in and of itself. But this crashed and burned. I don't think we're going to see a crash and burn like that for Deadpool and Wolverine. I also don't think we're going to see it have the same legs as something like a No Way Home, because from a story standpoint, I think that felt a little more rewarding to a lot of people, a little more invested in the story, a little more rewatchability factor. But you can't deny, with everything the MCU has going against it right now, I think people very much saw this as kind of disconnected from it. And I don't think this is going to have any impact on the box office results for something like Falcon and Winter Soldier or Thunderbolts or whatever the fuck else comes next. But as this movie that is now in the MCU with two characters that people really like seeing on screen, They have blown the box office out of the water, smashing records left and right, especially for an R-rated movie. And only time will tell how high this thing can actually go.